don't know what I was so nervous about. It was only a couple of holes. Yeah, that's all the plugs from all the holes I drilled. Hard to believe it's that many. All right, so we're getting back at it. It's out here today. As you can see, we got the new fuel tank in. And it's a tight fit. I'll show you, like down here around the edges. It was right on the verge of being a little bit too wide, but it's really the only other option they have. So what I'm probably gonna have to do is I'm gonna probably have to put in a couple of supports up underneath the bottom, or just build a little sub deck for it. But you can see we're certainly gonna have plenty of room right now to be able to get down here and get our hoses and all that stuff on. So now we just gotta run our fuel line, our vent line, all that. So all that's gonna work. So now we have a solution. Got to get the straps in, figure out how all that's gonna work. But really struggle with trying to figure out where to do these holes and stuff. Got it figured out, got it planned. I've overly planned it. I've looked at it in the model. I'll kind of show you here a little bit some of the modeling stuff and what it looks like. But I've got me a template right there in that center, and we're going to take, and I've got all my marks. It gives me also the reference where I'll have my drain for the live well. So that'll be the template there, and we'll have to build a couple more in the back. You'll see how that comes together. But fixing to go in here. I've fought it so long that now I'm to the point where I'm just going to start drilling holes, and then we're going to figure it out. But I've got a good plan. It's just a matter of how it works. I bought some flexible PVC pipe, which I really think is going to help, because it's going to have some bend, just a little bit of bend and give. And even if I can just make the turns and stuff. So that's what we're going to prepare for. It's supposed to be here later today, but like I said, I've been sitting here thinking and worrying about it, but now we're going to just move the ball ahead. So I'll show you down in here how it fits, and then once we reconfigure it and all. But right now, all I want to do is I want to start drilling holes and getting ready to run all these chases, because I'm ready to start pouring the foam and doing all that stuff. And I do think I'm gonna come back and foam the whole floor and stuff. So I got it all planned out, ready to go. So we're gonna get after it. Okay, so kind of the first step today is we got to drill out these through holes in the back, because this transom is on an angle here. That that through hole is going to be coming up, but I want to be able to kind of get in and make sure that I've got the piping all right. So I got to go ahead and drill that before we put all this other stuff in here, or else I don't feel like I'll have the room. So I'm gonna go ahead and drill this one, and we got the two on the other side over there, and then we're going to start using this, maybe this conduit, maybe the flexible PVC. But I'm hoping we're going to have 3 lines coming up in here, and then we're going to run an extra one on the other side. And we're going to start laying out the live well in this compartment here. And like I said, we're going to go ahead and start drilling those. It should give me a smooth little foundation. It's got a little bit of a hump in it, but once again, we're going to bed this all down with 4200, so we'll have a nice good seal right there. I may have to hit this little piece right here a little bit, just to make sure I got a good flange there. As you can see, this is just a little 120 grit grinding wheel or sanding wheel, and always nice and good to get all dusty first thing. So that'll give us a good one. You can see on this side we got 2. So this one will be for this live release well, and this one will be for the forward live well. So it'll come all the way through the front. And the problem with that being on an angle is it's going to shoot the things a little higher. But I'm hoping with the hose we have enough flexibility to get it down in there. So just going to work on these a little bit, try and smooth them out. Well, here goes everything. Well, I don't see any wood, so maybe we did okay. Let's see how this is going to work. We'll get there. I'm gonna try. You can see here, I don't know how well you can see, that's just a little glue that was on the back side, but we basically put that core in there, and you can see, so we ought to have, just got to check right here to make sure we didn't get in any wood, but we should have a total epoxy encapsulation right there. So we may try that hole. That one was a little bit big. This is a that was a 2-inch hole for 1.5 inches, which I think it's, you know, I'm gonna maybe look at, see if it's 1 3/4 inches, see if it's big enough. I don't see any wood, so we gotta have a good encapsulation there. So that one there looks pretty good. Like it's you see good spacing all the way around the core. It's kind of crazy to drill holes in a perfectly good boat. I can tell you something unmistakable as you're drilling through there is the smell of that fairing compound. It's a very distinct smell. So, all right, that's done. We started cutting the holes in it, so we must be getting closer. Well, I'm gonna speed it up a little bit here, and these will be the first holes that I'm drilling on the inside. So these are for those 2 3-inch wire chases that'll come down to the transom from the port side, all coming from the console. which we'll talk about that in a little while. But there's two 2-inch chases, 1.5 inch chase, and then just inboard of there you'll have that 1.5 inch drain that'll be for the live well. So basically all I'm doing here is I'm trying to match the elevation. The elevation is very important because you got a lot of pipes in there that are crossing. You got the drains that are coming out, you know, they go starboard to port, and so you got a lot of stuff that's going across in there. So you got to be conscious of how your height and your elevation. And you'll see me that I start using a tape measure, and these I'm trying to slowly drop down, measuring from the top because we're getting into the V of the boat. So I'm trying to drop them down. You see me turning this 45 a little bit down on an angle there so that I can make some more room for all this other piping, which a lot of that was helped in looking at the model, as I really use that as a tool to help me design all this. This is an example here of how I'm cutting these 45. Somebody asked me, is I basically just kind of drill the hole straight, and then I come back and use the hole saw from both sides on an angle and kind of cut out those shoulders a little bit. And this gives you a little idea. You know, here once again I'm turning this, that's an 1.5 inch line turning over there, and then you'll see I could only turn the 1.5 inch and 1 2-inch in that little compartment that I'm working in there. So, and as I jump to the other side, I'll talk about this, and I talked about it earlier. You know, those through holes are actually pointing a little bit up because of the way that transom is sloped. So I'm trying to be real conscious to make sure that I get them level, or, you know, I keep some fall in there. That top fitting there is actually a long through hole fitting. And I wound up, I think I'm going to go with all shorts. I've got both of them. I'm going to wind up going with shorts, those short through holes and the hoses. And using that little square there helped me to be able to measure down. You can see I'm measuring down, and I'm measuring, you know, from the side so that I can make these runs about as straight as possible. And you can see here now, once I've got everything measured, I transferred my measurements to the other side where I was actually going to cut it, or I drilled a little pilot hole through there. That way all I have to do is swap sides and come back in from the pilot hole side. So all that works out pretty good. Now, once again, just a little bit closer image. I had some camera problems in here. This is a good example here of trying to cut that angle, make that 45, and I'm just using those conduit pieces to help me align things. I think that I'm just going to run that flexible PVC pipe that I'm going to be able to turn those corners. I figure if I can get it close with this rigid pipe, yeah, that was a good example of how I cut those shoulders off. And I'm just using this rigid pipe. If I can get close with that rigid pipe, there's a lot more play in that flexible PVC. So that's it. And then this is, once again, another little example of how I'm cutting these angles. This will be the last 2-inch hole, and you can see my little template there that I keep talking about. You know, being able to put that template there in place and model it in my little model, to have a plan to just go execute rather than trying to wing it. And I really want things to be, I want them to be super organized and super tidy. I don't want stuff everywhere. So I'm trying to think through all that I can, and that model really helps me to do that. So here's this little template that I've created, and I'm going to show you a picture of it right here. It gives me all my measurements, so all I have to do is, once I put that template down, is is just drill it out. And one of the problems with that little template, it's just a little like 5mm underlayment, just some scrap lumber that I keep around the house. But you had to pop each one of those little discs out of there. But you saw my collection of discs earlier. So all I have to do is just drill these out, and I was able to, in the model that I work in, it's just a SketchUp thing. If anybody has any questions about that, ask me, because it's a great tool to have, and I'd be happy to help anybody if they're trying to do their own boat or whatever. I'd be happy to try and help you use SketchUp, which is the product that I'm using. It really does help me to lay everything out. So last little thing here I'm drilling is this 3/4 inch line. Once again, it's all planned out, it's all laid out, and this is going to just be an example of how I'm trying. One of the difficulties that I had in this center with these 2-inch chases and these 2-inch sweep fittings is they're
you know, those compartments there just aren't, they're not very deep. I want to say it's 8.5 inches there, right there on that high side. So I'm drilling this one. This is actually a chase that's going to go to the bow compartment. And you see here I'm trying to drill it, and I'm trying to get that fitting to come up from under the bottom in there and come up straight, because I want to be able to pick this plywood up and down before I bed it, so I can continue to fit everything. You can see there how it feels like it's working okay, but I'm gonna have to come back and kind of knock the shoulders off of those holes a little bit. Maybe they're not shoulders, that's just what I call them. And this is an example of how, you know, I've designed all this. This is the rear deck layout and the supports and the compartments. I've got all my measurements, everything. I find center on the boat, and I mark that on both the transverse bulkheads and the deck there, so I can just lay it all out. And then you can see the yellow there's the aft live well, and the purple is like a keel box, but it's also going to be plumb. So it was a long day, but we got it all done.
All right, this is just something. This is a little hole saw kit that I bought. Really got on Amazon. Nothing elaborate. It's that little Craig tool I was talking about. How you just lay it, helps you to drill square to the surface. Once again, this is a Groco. I got a link for this also on my sheet with all my stuff, and I can't say enough good things about this. Just a little 12-volt lithium. I saw these things for like $69 the other day somewhere. They may not still be that. And this is that little floor drain. Once again, all this stuff like this is down below. I have a link for all the kind of the tools and stuff that I've used. So if you're looking for any of this stuff, this would be a good shot. And while I was just using these, I drilled all those holes in this boat, all them bulkheads and stuff, and then these things are still cutting like crazy. So I was expecting them to be somewhat disposable, but it looks like they're going to make the whole trip for this project.